What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Undergrad Forum. Now in this video, we're going to talk about USMLE Step 1, core resources you got to use, and how to actually set up a study plan. Right now, I'm making this video at the end of February, going into March, and this is around the time that most med students in the US buckle down and start to get into like Step 1 mode. So I'm making this video now because I have been getting too many emails asking me like, hey man, how do you make a specific Step 1 study schedule? Step 1's coming around, like any recommendations, what should I do? And the reality is, when you email me and you ask me for a schedule, there's no perfect schedule for just anyone, and I also don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And when people email me asking me like, hey, like any recommendations, well yeah, there's a bunch, but here I'll just make them in this video instead of emailing everyone. You'll notice we got a brand new background here. I moved into a house closer to my residency, so that's always great. And my girlfriend put my MD and my MBA on the wall. Thank you, always looks cool. Now we're looking serious here in the office. But let's just jump right into it. So it's pretty much time to crunch down for Step 1. It's not like a month or a week out where you're like panicky, but right now it's time where people are thinking, hey, what should I be doing? And this is the golden time, okay? This is why I made the video, so you don't screw it up now. I'm sure you won't, but hey, a little more help never hurts. But the point is this, right now is the time where it's still like fine, you're not in a big rush, you have time to map out what you need to do, and that's the core of what we're going to talk about. Getting ready for Step 1, now that we're like in the season, it all comes down to good planning, a good schedule, and having not too many resources and core ones you like and just sticking with them. Keeping it simple is how you're going to do well. You already know this. I've talked about this in a million videos, and also it's common sense. Keep it simple, keep a good schedule, you'll do fine. Alright, so core resources number 1. When it comes down to the crunch time for Step 1, like when you're a month out, I just want you to think about 2 resources. 1 is first aid for Step 1, and 2 is UWorld. First aid, I still have mine here in this binder thing. You can tell how long ago I took Step 1. But it's like I made a video called How to Study for USMLE Step 1. And I talked about how I used the book and how I used UWorld, etc. But core resources, now it's coming down to crunch time. If you don't have this book, get it. If you would like to, you can cut the seam off, like Kinko's does it for like a couple bucks, and then you can easily read them, or you can like insert additional documents, like, did I do it here? Yeah, like my handwritten notes I put in. So first aid for Step 1. If you don't have it, order it on Amazon. It's like not that expensive, thankfully. First aid being how much people like it, thankfully they don't charge a ton for it. So get that book. Hopefully, maybe you bought it earlier, you've been using it maybe a little during first and second year, so you're kind of familiar with it. 1, don't worry about getting the latest edition. If it's like within the last year, it's fine. Say you bought it and a new one came out in December or something. If you can get the new one, great. But if you have the 1 year older version and you've kind of gotten comfy within written notes, just stick with your old. But if you don't have it, or you bought the old one and you never touched it, just get the new, why not? But don't, if you've been using it, don't worry about getting the new one and transferring your notes. Just stick with the old, it's fine. So, how are you using this first aid for Step 1? Well, if you've been using it a little bit and writing your notes from first and second year of med school, great. But let's just say you didn't. This video is for the person who's like, crap, I haven't done anything, Step 1's coming, what do I do? Go get that book real quick. It'll show up in 2 days with Amazon Prime. The beauty of life. Get that book, and you're going to use it to write all your notes and also to read. This is going to be the one core book you're going to be using from the beginning to the end of your step season. All right, and we'll talk. And as we talk about the resources, you'll see how I'm always going to say write it into first aid. The second resource you absolutely have to get is USMLE World, also called UWorld. Just Google that phrase. I'm sure I have a link down below for it. But UWorld is a question bank. All right, it's not a test bank. Don't mess that up. You're not supposed to do UWorld and get like 1,000,000% every time and say, oh, I'm perfectly ready. UWorld is there to help you learn, okay? When it comes to the standardized test, you're being tested on knowledge and on test-taking ability. And UWorld thankfully does both. They have identical to the real test day, the whole setup for how to take the test and what the questions are like and everything. And also the content in their questions is just fantastic. And so when you're doing UWorld, all you're going to do is do the questions in full test mode, timed. You know, you're going to do a block and you're just going to do all the questions back to back. No tutor mode, no untimed mode. You're going to do it from day one like the real thing. You need to get your brain in the mode of, I don't have all day to dilly-dally on a question. I got to look at the question, I got to learn how to read it, and I'm going to attack. Okay? There's a video link below where I talk about how to do UWorld in detail and how standardized tests work in detail. Once you know that strategy, it ain't that bad. But for this video, get UWorld. This is not something you needed to have bought super early, so just buy it. UWorld's a little bit pricey, it's a couple $100, but they know how good they are, so they charge you for it. It sucks if you don't have money, get money. This is something you put money into, no way around it. So that's UWorld. Again, when you're doing UWorld and you're doing blocks of it, I'll go through my actual calendar that I use to study and I'll show you how I did it so you can see. But again, now because I want to connect it to first aid, you're going to go into UWorld, say let's do a block, random, all questions, unused, everything, no picking just heart stuff or kidney stuff or anything. You click timed, normal exam, put the full amount of questions and click start. Do the questions, it'll take you 40 minutes or 60 minutes or at 60 minutes per block. You just do the questions and you're done. You'll get a score report and then you'll be able to go through all the explanations of UWorld. As you go through every single question, read the question again, read the explanation, see why the right answer was right, see why the wrong answers were all wrong, and then also think like, how could I have got this question right? Sometimes you know the material and you're like, man, I still got it wrong, or sometimes you didn't know it and you still got it wrong. But you need to be looking at the question and asking yourself, okay, how do I read these questions faster? Look at the last sentence first and look at the solutions first and then read the question. Don't just start reading the big paragraph, but also start to learn for yourself the trends and how they write the questions. And that's getting used to the test-taking strategy in addition to getting used to the knowledge. And as you're reading and you're learning all that stuff in their little explanation, write it directly into first aid. Go into first aid, it has an index in the back, find the relevant section, write your notes from UWorld, read what they have in there, and then your first aid kind of becomes like this Bible thing that has all of your first aid in there because it's printed. It has all of your UWorld notes in there as well, and now it's a gold resource, perfect for review right before the exam. So those are the two absolute resources, no discussion. If anyone wants to debate me, I won't even have that debate because we all know those are two indisputable resources, okay? And by the way, I don't get paid by UWorld to say that, nor do I get paid by First Aid to say that. I just think they're that good, all right? So put that out there. Those people pay me nothing and I support their products. That's how you know you got a good product. Okay, so now it comes to core resources. But right now, it's February kind of into March. You have time. You don't just need to do UWorld and nothing else. So the question becomes, when I get a lot of emails about, should I be reading a lot of books right now? Should I be doing other Q banks to get ready? What should I be doing? And I say no usually, because the strategy of using too many resources is just going to mess you up. Now, let's talk about calendar scheduling before I talk those next resources, because it's going to make more sense. So here I have my calendar, and this is my step 3 calendar that I just used to study for step 3. Same thing for step 2, same thing for step 1. So go onto Google Calendar or iCal or whatever calendar, or even a paper calendar you have on the wall, I don't care. Whatever you have, go put it on your desk and take a look at it. What you need to do is literally schedule every single day what you're going to be doing. And that is the big concept to this. Studying for step 1 becomes totally manageable when you have a day-to-day schedule. So say you have right now it's February, most people will take it probably in June or maybe May. So let's say you have about 3 months to study in total. Print out 3-month calendars and put them on your desk. Okay? And then see all the days that you have available. Know what your school schedule is or how much free time your school gave you for step 1 or no free time for step 1, and just kind of have a 90-day view of what's going on. Then put in the absolute core, and that's UWorld QBank time. You got to put that in, right? I don't care if you do anything else. What that means is how many questions are in UWorld, okay? You can, when you log in, it'll say how many questions are left for you to do. Take those number of questions. And you know, for step 1, I think it's 46 questions a block. For step 3, it becomes 40 questions a block. But say, okay, take the total number of questions, divide it by the number of questions per block, and then you know how many blocks you need to do in UWorld, okay? Take those number of blocks. So you automatically know it's going to take you an hour just to do all those blocks. But then you know it's going to take you between 2 to 6 hours to go through the block. And I say 2 to 6 because most people review it in 4 hours. Some people are kind of slow and take 6, and some people are fast and only take 2. Whatever it is for you, you need to do a couple blocks of UWorld and see how long does it genuinely take you to go through all the questions in the block, think, read it, put it into UWorld, kind of, if you're really confused, look it up in another resource. You need to, for yourself, figure out how long does it take me to go through a UWorld block, okay? And then once you've done that, you have all the data you need to make an uber super amazing calendar to get you through step 1. So now that you know how many blocks you have to do in UWorld, because you took the total number of questions and divided by the number of questions per block, and now you know how many blocks you got in UWorld. Now you know how many hours it takes you to, 1, an hour to do the block, and 2 to 6 hours to actually review the block. Now you know how much total time it takes for you to go through 1 block of UWorld. So let's say it takes you an hour to go through it, and it takes you 4 hours to review it. That's 5 hours. That's 5 hours per block, all right? Now let's say in your schedule you say, okay, I'm completely free for the next 90 days. I'm just saying that because it makes it easier for me to describe to you. Then you can say, okay, I'll do 2 blocks of UWorld a day. In the morning, I'll wake up. This is where this calendar comes in, okay? I wrote in here on Google, I just used Google Calendar because I wanted it on my phone too, and then I could print it out. And I said, okay, get up at 6 a.m., whatever, all right? By 7 o'clock, I want to click start on the UWorld and do the first block. All right, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., I just did my first block. So out of that 5 hours per block, 1 hour is already gone. Get up, then do the 4 hours of review, okay? It might take you a little bit more than 4 hours if you're using the Pomodoro technique. Study for like 30 minutes, take a 5 minutes break. But either way, it's going to take you about 4 hours. Then you schedule that in, okay? So then it became 7 to 8, you did the block, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's about noon, 4 hours have gone by. Past your 5. So now it's about noon. You have a lunch break, you relax, it's 1 o'clock. Now time for UWorld block number 2. Spend an hour from 1 to 2 going through the block, and then from 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, review the second stuff. It's 5 o'clock, you've done 2 blocks of UWorld, and you've gone through both thoroughly, you studied, you thought about it, you threw it in first aid. Man, what a great day. Okay, that's how this works, man. You look at your day and now you say, okay, so that worked well. It's 5 o'clock. What do I do now? Great question. Should you do another block? Can you do it 5 to 6 and then 4 more hours till 10? That sounds kind of bad. I got to get up early again. Up to you at this point what you want to do. If you're doing 2 blocks a day and that fits in your schedule, great. If you want to do another block in the evening, okay, that's up to you. But a lot of people do other stuff, okay? And we'll talk about that right now. What could you do in the evenings? Well, you could review video lectures for topics that you're not comfortable with. And that comes in the sense of, well, what additional resources should you be using if UWorld and First Aid aren't cutting it? You're like, you know what, I got a lot of time. I kind of need to learn a lot more. What books should I be reading? Should I be using another QBank? What should I be doing? And this is the question. So think about your schedule real quick. You have, say, all 90 days in front of you, and you know how many hours it takes you to do UWorld. You know how many hours in total you're going to have to invest to get all of UWorld done, so you can map it out every single day what you have to get done. And once you do that simple accounting of hours over the 3-month schedule, then you can sit back and say, oh, okay. Over the next 3 months, I got to study this much every day, and over the 90 days, UWorld will be done. Or maybe I'll do it twice. I don't know how much time you have. But either way, once you have it in front of you, the hours written down every day, and you realize that it's doable, you are going to feel 17,004,000 bazillion times better because you're not going to be stressed out about, oh, I should be studying 24/7. Oh, what's going to be going on? You have it all in front of you. And I have to give credit to my girlfriend for helping me develop this schedule early on. The concept of mapping it out all in front of you and having a very strict schedule does reduce your anxiety. So credit to her. She absolutely helped me with that very early on and continues to help me with that. But absolutely, I can say tried and true, it makes a difference. I feel better. I'm more focused. You have your calendar in front of you. Now, if you look at the top of mine, it says here, number of hours needed and number of hours scheduled. And that was based on calculating how many hours I'm going to need to do each block and how many blocks are in UWorld. And for step 3, there's 157.5 hours that are needed to get through the entire Q bank. And with my simple schedule during intern year, I had 177 available, so there was extra space. Once I calculated that, man, I felt okay walking into intern, going to see my patients, happy, not stressed anymore. That's what I want you guys to do. Have it all mapped out on a calendar, so when you go to school, you're more relaxed, you're learning better. It makes a difference. Now, that's for the crunch time, pure UWorld and pure first aid, nothing else. But the question becomes, okay, what do you do right now, man? It's February, it's March. How many times am I going to do UWorld? You know, I'm doing UWorld, but I'm getting it all wrong. What does that mean? All right, number 1, UWorld is not there to test you, okay? Don't get a question wrong on UWorld and have a panic attack, okay? Getting it wrong on UWorld, I kind of like it when people get questions wrong because it makes you a little bit on edge, like, oh no, what happened? And then you end up paying attention more to the question. You know, if you get it right, you're like, oh, I kind of got that one, no problem. You know what I mean. So if you get a question wrong on UWorld, that's not a problem. What UWorld is doing is teaching you how to read the questions, how to analyze them, how to become better at test taking, and also teaching you the material simultaneously. But of course, you want to get yourself kind of ready before you attack UWorld with material so you get at least them right, or you know what's going on, or when they give you an explanation, you're not like starting from scratch, like what are they talking about? You know what's going on. So that comes into the question of what resources do you use, and I promote 2 at least. One is Lecturio. So the reality is when you're in med school, some videos and some lectures that some professors give you are good and some are not, and that's just a reality. Every professor is different, they lecture a little bit differently. Some material you just learn well and some you don't. So when I was in med school, I supplemented all my lectures with videos. So if you're watching this early in your med school career, great, just pop on to the Lecturio website now, and then, you know, that's the nice thing about them, they don't charge a lot, and then you get access to all their videos and you can just follow along with your med school. Whatever lectures you're on, you can just follow along with their videos and then you get it, hopefully a little better. But let's say you're not, you know, in the beginning of first or second year, you're like, hey man, it's crunch time, step 1's around the corner, what do I do? Again, same principle. As long as you're not like a month out from step 1, which I would just say do UWorld and first aid, nothing else, and pray to God. I'm kidding, you know, just you'll be fine, just pray. I mean, just do UWorld. But if you're like about a month out, yeah, just focus on UWorld and first aid. But if you're like 2 months out or 3 months out, you have time, thankfully. All right, and that's where you really want to learn the material. So when you're doing UWorld, you're like in a strong position. You're like, oh, I reviewed that material, I know it. I'm not starting over from scratch learning things. So if you get on the Lecturio videos, you have one benefit. You can be doing UWorld questions, and then if you don't understand something or if you're completely lost, you just go onto the website, and I think they have like mobile apps now, way fancy, but before it was just a website, where you would go on the website, type in whatever topic it is. You could even type in, I think, the page of first aid now, and it just pops you right onto like content. You hit play, you think about it, they have like extra content to read about. Go ahead, open up first aid, write those notes in first aid, and then you get it. You know, that like multi-dimensional approach is the key to learning really well. Because you're doing UWorld, and then, you know, you're doing questions, you don't really know what's going on, you're gonna get them wrong, and you're reviewing material, and you're like, you know what, I'm just looking at UWorld, now I pop onto a Lecturio video, I get it there, I write it into first aid, I see it there, Lecturio has more words and papers I can read, I can write more stuff in UWorld, and now you're looking at a bunch of different resources, and you're good to go. So, in addition to watching videos, you do need to keep organized. So I was very big on using this calendar. But what if you are not that good at scheduling? You know, that's where Osmosis comes in for me. So I also like Osmosis. These are essentially the 2 core resources. There's a few people I actually promote. I like Osmosis because they're the only company out there who actually takes all the resources you have and schedules it out for you. It's not like, and they tell you, okay, today you're doing New World, you're doing First Aid, you're doing whatever other book. Here it is. It tells you what to study every day. So you can use that in conjunction. And they also have videos on YouTube that are free, or if you buy the service, they have like a bunch more videos that gives you access to, again, material you can read that also supplement. So you can use their learning platform to help you like schedule and keep on track. For me, it's a little bit easier because I've been doing it for a while now, and I also was always really nerdy with scheduling. But if how I describe the scheduling doesn't make sense to you, try out Osmosis. I think they're also cheap too, and if you don't like it, both Lecturio and both Osmosis, you can like cancel within like a short period of time, and I don't think you even spend that much money. So again, another benefit. So big picture view, going into step one, right? Couple months out or a month out at this point, or maybe you're looking at this early. Either way, final time period, a couple months out, you're going to be using UWorld and First Aid, and to help you organize all that time, you can use Osmosis to kind of help you organize and know what you're doing. And also, if you really want to learn the material well at this point, and you don't want to just be struggling through UWorld and writing into First Aid, use the Lecturio videos. They're super high quality, they'll supplement what you're learning, and that'll also carry you through. I keep the list simple. Now, people are going to ask me this next question. Mo, what about Rapid Review Golion? What about Robin's big book? What about Pharmacology Made Ridiculously Simple? What about all these other resources? Okay, I get it. There's a bazillion and 14 resources in the world. You gotta narrow them down. I do not recommend it using every single resource in the world. In the beginning of med school, yeah, you have a little bit more laxity in that you can pick what you want to use. But when it comes down to the step one time, I don't like to waste time with things that I personally don't think, or I don't have experience with, or I don't think will work well. So I'm kind of really picky with what I choose. If you're using something and it works well, then perfect. Don't change it now because of me. If it's working, you work with it. But if you don't have anything, or you're like, man, what I'm doing right now isn't working that well, take my recommendation. It's just that. It's my recommendation. Take it with a grain of salt. It may or may not work for you. I hope it does. But the point being that, if it works for you, great. Hopefully my recommendation does. If you already have a system that works, don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Simple system. So if it's early on for you, you'll hopefully know how to use. I also get the question, Mo, why don't you like Kaplan videos? Again, it all comes down to my bias. I used Kaplan videos at one point. I found that they were extremely expensive to use. It cost a fortune, and I didn't like it. I felt like the material was a little outdated and it wasn't high yield, and it was just as bad as my med school lectures at some times. So for me, I invested into something and it didn't reward, so I don't like it. But then I invested into something like Lecturio. It's a lot cheaper and it really rewarded me, so I felt like I kind of won the bet there. I put in a little bit of money and got a whole lot of learning back, and then I loved it. So that's why I recommend it. I tried it, it worked for me, I like it. Osmosis, early on technology of scheduling. Before I was super good, we had to use that. Now they've made it into an amazing learning platform where it interacts with you. But again, I tried it, I like it, it's good. That's why I prefer them. If you have more time, absolutely, I recommend Rapid Review Golion. That's a good book. But if you're a couple months out, be realistic, it's really hard to reference that book. Hit high yield things in this final stretch. But if you were using Rapid Review Golion earlier on, then man, you already have your notes, you already know what's in there, perfect for you to keep using. Use it as another reference. Pull stuff, if you're like confused on a UWorld question, like, man, this was in Rapid Review, go look in there, right? Write it into your First Aid book. That's perfect. But that's if you're already comfortable with other resources. I love that. If you have other resources you're good with, absolutely use it. But what I don't recommend is if it's like going into the step season now and you've never used a lot of resources and a lot of brand new ones, I wouldn't recommend using them. That's scary. You're going into like using resources you're not really comfy with, and especially bigger books, it's kind of risky to go into it when you don't really know them. And the reason why I say this is the other day, someone came up to me and they're like, hey, I was using this book for step one. Someone came up to me and said, oh no, I used this. They dropped their current book, which they had been putting a month of solid effort into, to go buy a brand new book. That someone else just said, oh, I used that and I did well. The whole reason I make this ending with this is that drove me nuts. Because someone was using, they were using a resource they were comfortable with and they were doing well. And just because someone else said, oh, I did well, they dropped it. I don't agree with that. I tell you what resources I like, but I'm not telling you drop a resource you're doing well with. If you're doing well, man, protect whatever resource you're doing and keep trucking along, good job. But if you're more open and you don't have resources you're in love with and you don't have resources you're absolutely, doing really well with, then take my recommendations and see if they work for you. All right, guys, I hope this video helps. We broke down scheduling for step 1, picking your resources, using UWorld, putting in the hours, picking what activities you want to do. We talked about core resources, first aid, UWorld, Lecturio, Osmosis. Keep it simple. I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, down below in the comment section, always happy to help. The Facebook group, write questions. We're a community helping each other out. And as always, enjoy your studies.